I know I have that problem.
Well, there are people.
Never been friendly. So.
Well, there are people who take advantage of.
There's some advantages to being a grump, you know.
There are people who take advantage of people's generosity, and it makes you defensive, and then you're not so generous anymore.
Well, and then what? The crazy thing is that the people that I've been nicest to, who did the most outlandish stuff to me, then claim to be victims.
Yeah.
And it's like, all I ever did was open my home.
You know, it's an entitlement mentality. That's why people get in the cycle of continually doing that. They're always perpetually victims with bad luck, and you know, and those kind of people, you watch them, their lives are like this until they eventually end up homeless, and you're like, why? You know, I'm not trying to say all homeless people are like this, but
Right.
you're like, why can't you find somewhere to live? Well, this is a person who's burned every bridge they've ever had in life, and then it blamed it on the people that they burned.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And in return, they've made these people very defensive to where they're not so apt to try and help people out.
I had a landlord once who told me, he was like, Jeff, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, I've heard that saying a lot. It was like the favorite saying of the sergeant I worked with in the Air Force. He said it at least once every day. No good deed goes unpunished. And he was one of those people that really bent over backwards to help people.
It took me a long time. I've thought about that statement a lot in my life.
Oh,
I think
this place is for sale now.
Second floor office space.
Oh,
No.
I don't know if the whole place is.
oh God, this pizza place is so good.
Which one?
Antonio's,
Oh, I have to remember that.
they do make good pizza. And he has really good ingredients.
They're good pizzas. I mean, they really high ingredients.
There's Mayor Funkhauser's office.
Oh, there it is. That's where the art show is?
Yeah, that's where it was.
Oh, man, that funk.
Punk?
He might still hang a piece of mine. I got 2 more chances. If he doesn't,
It's,
I'm gonna make him look that much worse.
I'm not going to vote for him.
Well, it's his daughter actually who's the manager of the show, but it's not any of them really. It's an artist who's actually doing the picking out the art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's what she told me. I could be wrong.
They thought Jessica's work was too controversial.
It is. That's good.
Controversial. We were going to use the pig with the gunshot in her head as
Ooh.
an example of the mayor's commitment to cut wasteful spending. Tax hogs getting cut.
Yeah. Mitski's pizza's pretty good too.
It's too close to a famous or a politician who got a gunshot in her head. Who's making food recovery, they say.
Well, I go in and out of homeless for lack of food. In a coma right now.
I do too. I start getting really sleepy and tired and irritable if I don't eat. If my energy level is down,
Yep.
it's a sign of age.
I've only been eating potatoes and
Create and/or hibernate. This is an excellent, one of the best antique stores in the Kansas City area.
here. They have good stuff.
I are an antique. Nobody wants to buy me.
You're not for sale.
I don't think antiques. Is there really value there?
What, antiques?
Yeah.
Well, antique is a misappropriated word. Most antique places do not have antiques. They have junk.
Yes.
What was that?
And those are the best kind of places. The ones that have actual antiques, I don't even want to walk into.
It was some guy I saw had,
Oh, we're in the
was it
River Key now.
least honest? He had a sign up, I buy junk, sell antiques.
So if you really want to be use a word of protest in Kansas City to protest the powers that be and big developers and big business and everything, throw that word around a lot, or that phrase, River Key. I think I just went down a street that doesn't have an outlet. Oops.
I've been wondering about this market station.
Oh, this is completely. I mean, these are all brand new buildings, but they're made to look like they're not.
So brick.
Probably. They may be real brick, but usually a lot of places.
It's only one course.
Well, yeah, usually a lot of places use brick veneer.
Yeah, the top. Our house
And
is
underneath
brick.
it's like that Tyvek insulate stuff. And the brick veneer is kind of glued on it, and if somebody farts really loud, it blows the brick off, and you see the Tyvek.
You know,
Look at the little light trees. I wonder if those are real. Those look like photographer lights.
Oh, those people are the luckiest.
They're paying way too much.
you know what blew
the
my
privilege
mind
of
is there's a
Crowded.
building up by the airport that's got a thick brick veneer on it.
A big veneer.
These are like condos.
Yeah, these are
And
condos. I
they,
think you rent them. I don't think any of them are for sale. Well, they're basically, yeah, they're apartments.
But they brought these bricks all glued together and everything in on a truck, and then just took a hoist and put the brick up. One afternoon, they had the whole building bricked instead of having to lay brick.
But what I meant to do was turn down or up Delaware.
It looks pretty dark in these buildings back there.
They're pretty expensive. I bet some of them have beautiful views, and there's a courtyard in the middle. It's a pretty nice community, but you know,
But
I
you
don't know. Oftentimes, see the thing I don't like about condos.
It's an expensive word for apartment.
Yeah, expensive word for apartment. You don't have any rights in them, even if you own them or not. You never own a condo. Ownership of a condo is fiction. It's a way to get you to pay more money. But the other thing is that if they attract really young people, those young people tend to be douchebags in general. And I'm not overly generalizing. I mean, you know, the kind of people who like to have sex in the pool, which is always a pool in the middle of condos. And after a while, it's kind of like, that could be kind of fun. You know, that's a little disgusting, actually.
Yeah. What do these people do, man? Really not working.
Here's an old place, Pacific House. This is the heart of the famous River Key that sparked the war that supposedly brought down the mafia. And by the mafia, I mean the big mafia, the national mafia. Not just the Kansas City mob. There's a coffee house right here, where there used to be a coffee house right there. And this place is good to eat. The lady who owns it with her husband is French, and she loves to cook everything with wine. So even though it's an Italian place, it's got a real French
You
flavor
mean
to
she
it.
cooks with the wine, or she drinks the wine and then cooks?
No, she cooks with the wine. You can taste the wine in the food, which actually is really good. It kind of gives us kind of a tangy, sweet flavor. She uses mostly red wine, I think, and lots of it. Lots of it.
I
Probably-
cook with a lot of wine.
Yeah. I was gonna say I cook with a lot of wine too. I'm gonna get this done. There's that building that they're now turning into big condo apartments.
Which one's that?
The one with the 2 towers on it.
Oh yeah, and somebody owns the upstairs. The whole
Well, yeah, I don't know.
it's like it's like $15 million to buy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be beautiful. Art Deco
Yeah, but
building.
if it's only 800 square feet.
What was it? Fidelity Life was the
Well, if
name of
you're
it?
like 85, they can't be
Don't remember.
And I called one of my blogs Town of 2 Towers. And what I was not talking about this building. I was talking about the Commerce Bank building and the UMB Bank building, which is the one next to it, I think. Maybe it's over on this side. Because of the tie-in with the, you say it's cousins?
Yeah.
One is CEO of Commerce and one is CEO of UMB.
Yes, yes.
They're Kempers.
The Kempers, yeah.
It's totally a family deal.
And they, for good or for bad, they do have a lot of say in this town.
I think it's real bad. Are you serious?
Well, the bad thing that bothers me is that a lot of the property downtown seems to be owned by large institutions, and the way the Kempers are involved is they are some of those institutions that runs or rents a lot of the space here. And there was somebody, friends of mine were going to this bar down here, and they wanted to do like the goth night in this bar, and the bar was doing pretty well, except it had a 1:30 liquor license. So he's requesting to get a 3 a.m. liquor license, because you really need a 3 a.m. liquor license to compete with all the other bars in town that have them. And he couldn't get one because he was told, you need to go around and ask all your neighbors if it's all right. So he went to do that, and all the neighbors said, well, we can say that, but we don't own this where we're at. You have to ask our landlord. It was one of these banks, and the bank said, nope, we don't want that kind of business downtown. And I'm like, come on, you need nightlife in their downtown to really make it alive.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're looking for more of a life support system sort of lifestyle. Because they don't live
When
here.
there's art, I would guess that too.
But, you know, the thing is we don't want to support that kind of business downtown, yet the Power and Light District comes not too many years after. And now all of a sudden we
Yeah,
do
but
want to
the thing
support that.
is, UMB and the Kempers, one way or another, I'm sure were involved in underwriting those bonds.
And I'm sure, too, a lot of the buildings that they bulldozed down belong to the banks.
One of
I'm
them for sure, Dan, was the bank. UMB Bank had a branch there. And let me tell you what, UMB had them over a barrel. Because when the city came to do the eminent domain on UMB, they took them to court. And I'm sure this was all staged, right? Like the building I was in, because I was in the D.D. Sprint building, it's right at the front door of the Sprint Center.
Yeah,
Well, they paid $250,000 for that building.
that's cheap.
It's super cheap, man. It's super cheap. It was really amazing how cheap they got. But the bank, they took the bank to court, right? Well, the settlement originally was lower than what the bank wanted, so the bank invoked a little-known law, federal law, that gives you like a year or 2 years or something to unwind your bank, even in the event of like eminent domain. So the city had to pay them. It was either 1.5 million or 15 million. I mean, it was an insane amount of money for a parcel that was smaller than the parcel that we were on. Substantially smaller.
Who was your landlord when you were in
He was just a proxy. I never knew the real owner.
there? Oh.
But the proxy owner was
Well, that.
Darren Siegel.
Oh, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty common downtown for if you wanted to come in and do like a live-in loft space, like squatting or whatever, which is totally illegal.
Right.
You could do that if you had one or two individuals who would approach the right owner and rent the place, like you did with the Stray Cat.
Yeah.
But the other place, besides the Stray Cat, I don't know if you ever heard of. At one time, it was called the Human Observation Lounge, and it sat empty, and then it became the not Java Gaia, the Roomba Box.
I never went.
Well, do you know where it was?
No.
It's now a parking garage,
Really?
and I think it's a parking garage for UMB now. We'll go by there since we're roaming around aimlessly.
Man,
But your the Stray Cat, your business was right at the front door of the Sprint Center,
Yeah.
where it is now. Too bad he couldn't keep the Stray Cat in the front door of.
Well, that's what I was trying to pull that off. I was actually trying to work to get an all-ages venue. Either
Oh, that would be cool.
Because I was like, there are a lot of people that come down here. There are a lot of people with kids that go to these concerts. They want something to do. Their kids are just roaming around after the concert.
Yeah.
Like, they can't go into any of these places. They can go to France. But,
Not for long.
Yeah, I'm sure Frank